Hey everyone, this is Daniel Luepker with Perspective. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled in favor of the Colorado wedding cake company Masterpiece Cakeshop against a gay couple. This was in the news a number of years ago. In this case, it was a 7-2 majority vote. The majority opinion of Justice Kennedy ruled that the Colorado Civil Rights Commission had been hostile to religion, and therefore the court cases that led up to it were invalidated. Now, while this may seem like a very large win for conservative groups that feel that this sort of action is warranted, the decision was also very clear that this did not apply to future decisions, but rather the specific merits of how the Colorado Civil Rights Commission viewed and acted on this specific case. So cases in the future under similar circumstances are still open, and this court case is not precedent to them. This case will not determine whether or not people are allowed or not allowed to write what they want or refuse to write what they want on cakes. In his opinion, Justice Kennedy cited another cake shop that refused to write an anti-gay message on that cake for another group, citing that the Commission was not acting consistently, and again, going back to the whole point that none of this seems to matter, we're going to figure this out another time. Now, what does this mean? This is a victory for Masterpiece Cakeshop's owner, Jack Phillips, who determined that same-sex marriage was a sin, is a sin, I should say, in his mind, and that Jesus himself would have never baked a cake for this couple. Now, of course, the losers of this case are the individuals who could not get a cake baked at a place that did not approve of their existence. Now, if I'm in their shoes, I would say that that's also not quite a loss, although I'm sure they did spend a lot of money in court fees. And so I guess the real winners in this are the lawyers that put this case through. While people on the left were hoping for a victory where non-discrimination would be a stronger law of the land, and people on the right were hoping for a circumstance where individuals could refuse service to groups that they did not approve of as they saw fit. This is, again, a situation where neither one gets what they want and everyone gets to watch the can being kicked down the road. So, on that note, here's my thoughts on the issue. On one side, I would never want a cake to be made by someone who I didn't trust, who might even sabotage it. I mean, think of all the stuff you can do if you really think someone is less than human and you make a cake for them. That's one end. I know, you can't force them to do that. I wouldn't want to force them to do that for those reasons. I wouldn't. It sounds like bad things would appear in the cake. On the other hand, this is just discrimination as we've seen in the past during the civil rights movement, not allowing certain people to be in certain locations. This is no different. It's just with a new group. It's a shiny new group that's only come to the stage in the last couple decades, whereas previous instances that have been ruled on have gone and been that way for hundreds of years. In this case, we also have an instance where we have a Supreme Court, which is much more conservative. As you can see, the two left-leaning judges that were there, Sotomayor and Ginsburg, dissented against this. However, it was a 7-2 opinion, unlike the previous court case we've talked about on the show. This was a case that even if Gorsuch was not in charge and in the court and Garland was, it would have not made a difference, even if he flipped his vote. So, in this case, what do we have? We have a Congress who is abdicating its responsibility to pass equal rights amendments and equal rights protections, even though states have done so, such as Illinois, who has just passed the Equal Rights Amendment recently, and a case where we continue the fight for both equality and the fight to get people to stop hating each other for arbitrary reasons. If you're a cake baker, you shouldn't care who you make a cake for. Your job is to make cakes and make people happy that you made those cakes and get a referral for making good cakes. Not to say I pick and choose who I take my money from. It's childish. Come on. Get over it. It's the 21st century. We should be dealing with important things. The fact that we're still stuck determining who can fight who on what they can get is so last century, guys. Come on. We should be in the era of new projects. I'm going to say this a lot, the era of new projects, great projects, building things, building our infrastructure up, converting everything to green energy. There's so much that we should be doing in the U.S., yet we're stuck talking about Supreme Court decisions that kick the can down the road about people willing or not willing to make cakes. I don't care if it's your religion. You live in a secular country. If you want to act in a way that does that, just move to Iran, move to Russia. That's a theocracy. You're asking for a theocracy. Just say it. You want a theocracy. You want religion to dictate what people do. That's fine. Just say it. I'm fine with people saying whatever they want, believing whatever they want, as long as they say it and they mean it. And in this case, we're in a situation where people want a theocracy and not to live in a secular country. And again, I wish they would just say it. I mean, I guess he did say it when he said that Jesus wouldn't bake a cake. I think Jesus had bigger issues on his hands than whether or not he would bake a cake for a gay couple back at a time when marriage was a property agreement with a woman. And her, well, not really with a woman, with her family. And she was the property that you were agreeing to. So, on that note, what's my thought on this case? It's dumb. This whole thing is dumb. Let's move on. This shouldn't be an issue. Guys, we can do so much better in the 21st century. We're working with robots that can do surgery better than a human. We're working on getting nanoparticles put together and built on a mass scale. We're building or planning to build half-a-mile tall buildings. China is exploding in growth, and they're building a whole network that's costing trillions of dollars that's going to make them the next superpower. And the U.S. is stuck arguing over, not just stuck, the highest court in the land has taken the time to argue over whether or not someone can refuse a cake and whether or not that the grounds by which they're doing it in the state is valid or not. And while kicking the can down the road, meaning this entire debate is going to come up again and waste our time again when we should be focusing on actually important things and not festering wounds of the past. This is Daniel. I'll see you next time.